You know, I think Work Table 1 might be the most underused and underappreciated table in the book. This has to do with evidence of student learning, and you have to remember that learning goes beyond academics. There's more than one way for your students to learn. There's more ways than just academics that a child learns. And as you look at the workbook, I want you to think about some of these ways of learning. Yes, there is the cognitive learning. As you're measuring the cognitive learning, when you're maybe grading papers or grading activities that your children have done, remember to emphasize feedback, especially positive feedback. Emphasize any improvement whatsoever. As you're writing it up, emphasize the improvement. Even if the grade is not what you hope it would be, if they've improved, that is cognitive learning. I had a young man named Christian. Christian came to my 7th grade class with not a very good reputation when he was in the 6th grade, and he was not a great student. But I set the bar for Christian, and I said, Christian, you know, I want you to at least make a C in this class and do the best that you can. On the very first quiz in our class, Christian made 100. And he came up to me and he said, Mr. Parks, I've raised my bar. I said, what do you mean? He said, if I can get 100 on this quiz, I can get 100 on all your quizzes. I can do this. And Christian did. Christian worked hard, and Christian excelled in social studies. And that is academics, and that is cognitive improvement. But that is what you want to record as evidence for learning. But there's also more than just cognitive learning. There is social learning, social improvement. Do you have a student maybe that can now talk to you as a teacher and they couldn't before, or they're getting along better with their peers? That's social learning. Be sure that you cite that also. If they improve their ability to ask for missed work when they before perhaps wouldn't ask for work that they had missed, that is social learning. That's social improvement. Maybe they'll speak up in class. Sometimes there are kids in my class that in August and September they won't raise their hand, but a little bit later in the year maybe they'll raise their hand and ask a question if they don't know. That's social learning as well as cognitive. So don't forget to cite social improvement. Behavioral and emotional learning. Improvement in that area is also really important. Had a student named Gunnar. what dad or mom names their kid Gunnar? And Gunnar needed to learn manners. And I told Gunnar, I said, Gunnar, I'm going to teach you the 9 most important words that you need to know. And he said, what's that, Mr. Parks? I said, please, thank you, yes sir or no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and I'm sorry. And Gunnar learned those, and Gunnar used those. And I was so proud of Gunnar. He didn't do well academically in the class, but his behavior and his emotional attitude and his ability to show respect, that was an improvement. National Board wants to see that too. That's a type of learning that you can include. I had a young man named Justin, and his social learning and social improvement was decreasing his use of profanity. And he did, and that was learning. Evidence those things as well as cognitive. And then there's therapeutic learning. This is a little bit harder to cite, may not have access to students who really are physically challenged. I had a young lady who could just barely see. Her name was Jordan. And so I worked with her and made everything larger on the copy machine for Jordan, and the newspapers and things like that we read, and the textbook, we had an enlarged copy of it. And I got the most wonderful note from her mom talking about how much Jordan had learned just by the things that we had done in class that were just a little bit extra. And so that was therapeutic learning. So don't forget, not just cognitive learning, but social learning, behavior and emotional learning, and therapeutic learning, those count too.